Welcome back, everybody, to the Blue and Gold podcast. This is your host, Geoffrey Whiteside, and I'm with my co host, JD. And we have the absolute privilege of sitting down with my good friend, Tilman Dunbar, who is a class of 2016 graduate. He served as a surface warfare officer. So, shout out to all the SWOs out there. He is
Hey,
he's a serial entrepreneur. He is a real estate investor. He syndicates multifamily real estate. He's also a owner of a residential real estate team down here, and he is also a team lead at a Keller Williams brokerage. And man, I'm losing my breath. I can't even name all the businesses,
man.
but he owns a few other businesses as well. He is one of my business partners. Till, welcome to the show and introduce yourself to the goats.
No. Thank you guys for having me. It's a pleasure to be on this esteemed podcast. JDG, appreciate it. And Joffrey said a lot. Mainly, I think the one thing you didn't mention is with all those things I have encompassing in my life, the biggest thing I have part of two charities, nonprofits. One Against the Odds, which we develop basketball courts and do basketball camps in West Africa, which
Wow.
is where my family is from. I'm actually going to Liberia mid-January for my 30th birthday on a mission trip. I'll be over there for 7 days. And then also the Puso Foundation, which was founded by my best friend. And we also give hope, inspire, and help kids all around the world, mainly in the Philippines. And we have done a few mission trips to numerous countries all over the world. So, yeah, that's probably the proudest thing I do outside of all the owning of
Man,
business.
that's awesome. I was getting out of breath hearing Joffrey talking about that. I feel like I see Tillman's name everywhere. It's like I'm either on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. I see Dunbar somewhere on my feed. So he's a busy man. I've been looking forward to catching up with you for a while, Till.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I honestly don't understand where he finds the time to do all this stuff. Like I named all like the businesses, and then he just named like charities and stuff like that. And I didn't even get to all the
Right.
businesses, which is the crazy part. But today we're gonna be focusing on goal setting. It's the end of the year, and goal setting is important. So I want to take advantage of a high individual like Tillman and JD as far as goal setting. So tell me a little bit, about goal setting. Like, when did you start doing it? Why did you start doing it? Things like that.
Yeah. Well, once I left the Navy is when I really had to focus on goal setting, right? Well, in the Navy, we're blessed with the ability to, hey, we have a mission, we have a goal. Everyone tells us what we need to do. We drive the results to get there. After I got out the Navy, we have no more direction. Right? It's all on us, right? So that's really, truly when I started to hone in and focus on goal setting and building out what I want my 1, 3, 5-year plan, 10-year plan to actually look like. And what are the steps I'm going to implement to be successful in achieving those goals?
Makes sense.
Till-
Makes sense. How was that? Go ahead, JD.
Till, can you give us a little just quick background? Class of 16, what did you study? What did you do right after graduation? And then just so people have some context, that could be super helpful.
So class of 2016, I majored in economics. And after I graduated, I actually was able to TAD at the academy for 6 months. So I was coaching and helping with the naval basketball team. I played basketball at the academy for 4 years. And that was a really tremendous experience. And after that, TADing, I was able to roll right into playing for the All-Navy team and the All-Armed Forces team. So I was able to travel around the country playing basketball, representing our United States Navy. And then I was fortunate to be selected to play for the USA team. And I was able to go to Belgium and France and go against other countries and represent our nation. And then I finally made my way to my ship. I did VDOC, and it was a full year after I graduated where I actually finally made it to my ship. So I met them on deployment, completed 7 months of that deployment, and then made it back home and finished out my first tour on the USS Baton, and then rolled into my second tour, which was on the USS George H.W. Bush.
That's why I asked him, because I knew he was too humble to insert that like huge portion of his life where he's like playing all over the world. I knew it because I've been following him, but that's crazy. I mean, what an honor that you're able to do that. That's pretty cool. What was the best part of that? Clearly, goal setting ties right into that. I mean, that's
right. Yeah. So
crazy.
I mean, The coolest thing about it is like as G knows, when we're at the academy, we really don't think we go in. We always have dreams of playing professional, whatever sport we're doing. Yeah. Right. Then we get to the academy, we figure out we have to serve before we're able to play. Now we've had some classmates and peers who have been fortunate enough to play at the next level. And I still wanted to play professional basketball. So it was an amazing opportunity to be able to do that in a way, still get paid playing basketball and doing service with my commitment. So it was an amazing experience.
Man, that's cool.
I have a question for both you guys because you both play college sports. How do you think, playing sports and business correlate to each other? Like, how do you guys feel about that? How do they correlate?
JD, I'll let you start.
Oh man, that's such a good question. I don't know. I was thinking about that the other day because I was recruited to run track. I committed somewhere else other than the Naval Academy at first. I didn't get in the first time. I ended up doing a redshirt year for track and field. And I think one of the hardest things was probably something that a lot of athletes go through. Well, Tillman, you may not have, but I did, is that you go from being, relatively high performer on your high school team where, people know you, people, will kind of follow your lead. And all of a sudden you join up and, I was getting crushed by my teammates, which is great. Like you want to cheer on your teammates, but it's such a humbling experience to go from a high performer to just run of the mill. And that's really what I went through. I was really just a run of the mill participant on the track team. And I feel like in business, unless you're doing some things to really stand out, you can just be run of the mill and really never shine. And sports, there's so many cliche things that you can say, about sports and about business, but that's one of the biggest things. It's like, it's really hard to stand out in business. So when you find people that are, just like learn from them. Like Till could probably teach me 100 things about what he's learned this year because he's standing out.
Absolutely. How about you, Till?
Man, it's funny that you asked that. So, and the main thing I look for in business partners is two things. The first two things: were they military and were they an athlete in some capacity, right? The reason that is because I know if you have been in either of those lanes, you have the drive, the discipline, you've been through adversity, you've been able to persevere to whatever is transgressed in your path, and you've succeeded to where you are. So that knocks out 95% of the things we handle in business, right? Because everyone thinks it's a smooth road, it's roses and lilies, and it's beautiful when it's really not. It's really difficult to, like to JD's point, to be successful, to stand out, to be able to lead from the front. So yeah, I think it correlates hand in hand. Like people who are athletes, people who have been in the military, I really truly believe we're just wired different and we are a different breed. And that's kind of what I look for when I associate myself in business.
What about you, John?
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think for me, it's kind of like the work ethic, like Till was saying. Me coming from a surface warfare background, those hours are long, so you're used to working like 16-hour days. So when I have to do it in real estate, it's just like it is what it is. It's like not a bad time at all. Same with sports. I think sports, especially in college, I think college sports is more so like a business, where you're putting in the work really year round. To be honest with you, like I stopped having fun in sports in college. It was like a job, and then you had to like go to school and stuff like that. So, and just like practicing and stuff like that, just building good habits is what I correlated with. So, yeah.
I feel like it's a rude awakening for football players, especially because they'll go from being like, they'll catch a touchdown pass in front of 25,000 people as a plebe on a Saturday. And by Monday at the Naval Academy, they're chopping up the steps like everybody else. And it's just like, it's got to be a rude awakening. I mean, talk about
very
humbling.
We're actually going to try to have Joe Cardona on the show. He went from, winning a Super Bowl to having to go to like B-Doc. Like, he won the Super Bowl with Tom Brady and has to go to, a Navy school the next week. Right. Completely insane.
Learning how to salute while Julian Edelman's texting you. That's pretty wild.
Yeah. It is unique. But back to goal setting, what systems and processes do you actually use for goal setting?
Oh man, that's a great question. I think we're blessed in the Keller Williams sphere. We have what's called the GPS or 411 and a 135. So I've used that in my business to kind of set goals and build out what I'm trying to do for the year to forecast out.
Can you break down the 411 for the listeners?
Yeah. So 411 is essentially, you have your big goal. You start with the 135, which is, hey, I want to make 100K this year. Okay. Then you go to, okay, what are the things that I need to do? What are the three priorities that we need to do to get to those? So is it, I need to make more calls. I need to do X number of transactions. I need to hire an assistant or admin personnel, whatever it is. So you break those out in three, and then you go from there and you go down and say, all right, these are all the strategies that I'll need to incorporate to hit these priorities, which will lead to me hitting my big goal, right? So after you get that, you take that and put it into a 411, whatever that big goal is, and then you break it out. Hey, what do I need to do for the year to accomplish this? All right, you take that and break it down. What I need to do monthly to accomplish that in the year. And you take that from the month and you break it down what I need to do weekly. And it just really puts it out to you to where you don't have to think at all throughout the year. And now you're just executing. And you check in with that weekly or bi-weekly or monthly to make sure you're staying on track to hit your goal for the year. So it takes that big whale size goal and breaks it down into little chunks that are a lot more palatable and a lot more focus driven to accomplish that big goal.
And we're going to actually into other parts.
And what do you mean?
Like, is that seeping into how you look at your charity organizations also, and then personally and all of that, or do you just look at real estate through that?
No, absolutely. A nail on the head. So I use that in every single aspect of my life, right? So when I go, for 2024, all right, so what do we want to accomplish with our charity? Cool. This is what I break down. Okay. This is our big goal. How many events do I need to get to that? Okay. How many calls do I need to make to raise XYZ? Break it down. Okay, what I need to do monthly, what I do weekly. So that actually incorporates into every single aspect of my life, professional, business, and personal.
So let me get this right. You have separate, essentially 135s, business plans for each business you have, whether that's, investing in real estate, whether that's, your charity. You have separate 135s for that. But you have a combined 411 that has kind of like everything on it. Is that correct?
Exactly.
Okay. Solid. So we're actually going to drop these in the show notes. They're like one pagers. Mm-hmm. So let's break down the 411 a little bit more. What are the separate categories? Like, which category do you start with first? Because I know there's like personal, there's like your job, there's business, and there's financial.
Yep.
So which one do you look at in like starting first, as far as like writing down your goals and stuff?
So I start with my job, right? Because with the job, whatever I do in my job, it'll provide money, right? And I go through that, and whatever overlap there is in the money in the job side, I just look to put more on the money, and then I go out from there. Then I'll go to the the business side, right? And then I'll write out, all right, what is my business gonna do that ties into the job and money? And the last thing I do is personal. And then I figure out what I need to do in my personal life to support all my job, business, and professional goals.
Now, what's the difference between like your job and your business? Can you give us like examples of each category? Let's just say real estate investing.
Yeah.
You're real big into like syndications and stuff like that.
Yeah. So no, that's great. So for a syndication, so my syndicating side, multifamily. So job would be, okay, as an operator, right, here's what I need to do to accomplish. As a business side, all right, how many units am I looking to get for this next year? And then I break down, all right, so if I want X, let's say I want to get 100 units over this year, right? What are the things I need to do to be, accomplish those 100 units? And then how is that going to support, now that I have those units, as an operator, what do I need to be doing to support that business goal? And then you said, for money?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I tie it in. All right, what is my passive goal that I want to be generating from these units? Okay, and make sure that aligns with, all right, maybe I want $500,000 passive. Okay, well, maybe 100 units isn't going to cut it. So how many units do I need producing X amount monthly passively to support that big goal?
Yeah.
And then I go down the personal from there. So
yeah. Now, did you see a big jump from when you like physically wrote down a business plan and essentially a business plan and goal planning? Did you see a big jump in revenue or anything like that? I know for me, when I did it, like I'm JD knows this, and you know this too. I'm one of those guys who didn't believe in like writing down goals. I'm all like action, right? I'm an action taker. But I had to kind of like slow down because I seen guys that are worth a lot more money than me and a lot more successful than me, and they're doing like these 1-page business plans, worth like $50 million. We're talking about like high performers. So I had to kind of like slow down and really assess that. And when I did it, it was like a game changer.
Bro.
First of all, when I wrote it down, like my wife was like, "That's an aggressive goal. Like you're essentially gonna have to change who you are in order to meet that goal." And at first, I kind of took offense to it. I was like, "What do you mean? Like you don't have faith in me?" She was like, "No, you're gonna have to, maybe not watch, Sunday football all day and stuff like that. You're gonna have to change kind of like what you've been doing, because if you do the same thing you were doing, you're not gonna reach that goal, right? At the end of the day." So tell us a little bit about that journey of actually like physically writing down your goals and how much of a difference it made.
Changed my life. I'm not even lying. Point blank period. Between that, writing out goals, and time blocking, completely changed my life. And kind of like you said, like we're action. We know what the mission is. Our whole life we've been trained like just do, and we just kind of vibe, right? We just kind of flow and get it done. What's needed. But when I wrote down, "Hey, Tillman, what do you want to accomplish the next year, the next 3 years, 5 years?" And I saw it and made it real, right? Now you have a scoreboard, right? We're all athletes. We compete, right? It makes you competitive. It's you versus you at that point. And you can't, if you lose, you're letting yourself down. And I mean, I don't think either one of you guys, I know me, I'm not going to let myself down, right? So, it really changed my life writing the goals because it just makes it real. It's in front of you. And then we think we know what we want, but once you put it on that paper, it comes to life. So.
Can you talk a little bit about, Till, can you talk a little bit about the absence of that goal setting? So obviously when you were transitioning out of the Navy, you didn't have the 135 or 411, like probably ready to go. So there was probably a few week period in there where you were like, I'm going to need to change something, because you lost sports, probably. You lost the discipline of the Navy. You lost your crew that was, checking on you every day. Outside of friends, that's a huge life shift. How do you stay driven, especially in entrepreneurship? Because you went into something that's not structured, which is really easy to, get disorganized.
I think you hit the nail on the head, like the self-motivation. And it's really, I encompass and embody that you versus you mentality, right? So, I'm really just kind of focused on what do you want to do to me? Because at the end of the day, like you said, there's no more guaranteed paycheck, right? We kind of eat what we kill as entrepreneurs, right? So I just came in the mindset like, I don't want to go homeless. I don't want to starve. Seriously, and that's what drove me every day, right? So, I mean, not literally, but I had that mindset, and that's kind of what pushed me every day. Is like, hey, I want to sleep in today. I was like, well, if you miss that, you probably won't get a closing. You probably won't get this deal. If you don't make this call, you're losing money. You're literally taking money out of your own hand, which in turn could be detrimental. So that's kind of how I motivated myself and just kind of pushed to keep going. I just had to make myself compete against something. So that's kind of how I drove myself every day.
Did you ever think, and this for you too, Geoffrey, during your transition out of the Navy, did you ever second guess your decision? Like, oh man, I should have stayed in for another year while I worked on this. This was not the right decision. Or right away were you like, this is for me. I'm glad I'm not in. I'm glad I have this risk of no paycheck. This is going to drive me to be better.
No, I mean, the fear was always there. I mean, actually getting out, I was thinking of going the route that we all kind of think about, getting my MBA, right? And going that route and doing the financial journey and going to Wall Street. And I was like, actually, I'm going to bet on myself. I had just finished my first flip and, got some significant income from that. And that was like, pushed me to say, all right, if you put your 100% effort into this, how far can you go? right? And but yeah, absolutely, I had doubts every day. And I was like, if this doesn't work out, like I don't have a backup plan. Like this was it. And thankfully, that, like I said, that kind of drove me to make sure I was going to be successful. I still haven't reached where I want to get to, but to date, it's driven me because I don't have a backup plan. This is it. This is what I want to do. So.
What about you, Geoffrey? Because you may have had even more complex. Did you already have a family when you were transitioning?
So my situation was a little bit different. I already had, a couple, quote unquote, like side hustles. I had been like investing in like real estate for a while, using my VA loan multiple times, used FHA conventional, bought single family houses. So I was, blessed enough to be financially free while still in the military. So
Wow.
the decision wasn't, was I worried about, surviving? A little bit different than Till's. So to me, it was more so I really enjoy my time as a SWO. I know people are gonna like I'm gonna get like hate no because of that statement, but
Someone just turned this podcast off. Someone's just like, I
can't. I enjoy like the grind because it just made it that much easier to succeed out in the civilian world. Because at the end of the day, like I'm not going on 9-month deployments. I'm not working 16-hour days Monday through Sunday at the end of the day. So everything else has been smooth. So for me, it got to the point where it didn't really, make sense for me to stay in. I actually like wanted to stay in, but like financially and time wise, it did not make any sense for me to stay in. But one thing I wish I would have done sooner, I wish I would have, got those like fundamentals down a little bit better as far as like goal planning. For like a lot of our listeners, they have like side hustles or they have they're just starting, real estate investing or starting, different businesses. So one thing I did wish I would have done earlier is like goal planning and, business planning, to be honest with you. It made that much, difference in my life. And there's stats that back it up. Those who have actual written out goals are 44% more likely to succeed in those goals. And if you have an accountability partner with those goals, I think it's something like 77% more likely to achieve those goals. So at the end of the day, it's like the real basic stuff that I wish I would have had when I was still in the Navy, had my side hustles and stuff like that. And that's why I think it's important today to talk about that. Because that was like, if I had that one thing that like was a game changer, that was it. Physically writing my goals down and physically, planning my side hustle business, right? At the end of the day. How about you? What's your take on it?
It's really funny. So I wanted to ask both of you if you had regretted getting out or if you enjoyed your time in. And both of you did indeed enjoy your time in. Because Till, and I don't even know, Geoffrey, if you know this, but you're co-hosting the Blue and Gold Summit with me April 13th, which is
see how JD
just slid that in there, right?
Sorry. And the motto for this year is going to be, you can do both. So I feel like we have such a cool opportunity when we're in active duty as an officer. You have a predictable income. You can do both. We don't need to like subscribe to this, oh, I had to get out of the Navy. I had to just get out as fast as I could. I needed to 5 and dive so that I could get on with my life. That's not the case at all. Like if you're a midshipman listening to this, you can do both. You can be a diligent real estate operator, a diligent entrepreneur. You can set goals and you can apply the same goal setting techniques that you had for even academics as a midshipman. 6 weeks, 12 weeks, finals, making sure that you're staying on top of your sports and your academics at the same time. You can apply that to entrepreneurship while you're still active duty. There's 2 guys right here talking, Till and Geoffrey, that did it. And that's something that I think really needs to be heard from at least the younger generation, is that you do not need to get out of the Navy, right away to pursue something like this. As long as you're disciplined, you definitely can do both. And I wasn't, when I was active duty, I didn't do both. I didn't know enough about real estate to to even consider buying, and I rented through the whole time. If I look back on it, I probably gave away 7 figures of appreciation just not listening to other people, a few years ahead of me. Yeah. I was pretty stuck in my own ways. Like, I was just going to focus on being a Marine officer, nothing else. And it cost me financially, big time. Yeah. And the variable there is just time. It literally is just appreciation over time. And I missed out on a lot of that during some really important years in the real estate market. And because it's a cycle, it's going to happen again, and I'm not going to miss it next time. But there's a lot of people listening that are going to make a decision probably this coming spring when they're getting PCS orders or they're graduating from the academy. Do you want to participate in the real estate market and catch one of those cycles, or do you just want to sit on the sideline like me and leave serious stuff on the side?
Yeah. I was actually talking to an older Naval Academy grad. I actually stayed with him when I first moved down here. So I was on the other side of the house hack, but he kind of introduced me to purchasing the house. And I was like, how much equity you got in that house? Like, you bought back in 2014. He was like, I don't know, like $200K, which is wild. Imagine if he purchased 2 or 3 houses. That's here.
I mean,
that's here. That's not. We're not talking about San Diego or Jacksonville. Some of the markets that appreciate a little bit faster, but it's just insane.
I gotta plug my computer in here.
It's just insane. So, Till, what's 3 pieces of advice you would leave a young, midshipman or even a naval officer or someone just in the Navy or in the armed forces, just in general?
I love it. I'd say that my first piece of advice would be never let anyone tell you no, right? So we do, I think JD kind of alluded to it, you can do both, right? We have some limiting beliefs that might be festering out there that, hey, you have to do one or the other, you have to do this, or hey, you can't do this because it's going to make you a bad officer. That's not the case, right? You can do both. You can do whatever you want to do and be successful in it, right? So that would be my first piece of advice. Never let anyone in the military or in your life tell you no. The second, I'd say, be who you are, because everyone else is taken. My college coach used to also always say this to us in practice. If you're coming down, you're trying to be Steph Curry and you're shooting it from half court, Till, that's not what you do. Do what you do. Be yourself. Everyone else is taken, right? So I that stuck with me forever, because a lot of people get caught up in Instagram or social media, and I see this person doing this, so I'm gonna do that. Well, that's not you. It works for that person, but it's not going to work for me. G might be great at what he does, and if I try to emulate G, I'm going to fail because I'm not G. I'm not you, JD. I can't do what you guys do, right? But I can be myself and excel at what I do, right? So that would be my second piece of advice. Be who you are. Everyone else is taken. And then lastly, I would say, winners win. That's my favorite quote. Winners win, right? So never allow yourself to lose. You have to hate losing more than you like to win. So that would be my last piece of advice, because there will be trying times. There will be adversity. We see it in the military. We see it in life. We see it in business. Do not let yourself fail and fall backwards because you're afraid to succeed, right? So winners win. Persevere and push through to make sure you get to whatever goal you want to accomplish in your life.
That's awesome. What are 2 books you recommend reading that you read in 2023 that you can recommend to the goats?
Man, my first one, I would say another mind-shifting one. This is a Keller Williams book, but Shift, right? Yeah. I love that. And then my second one, which was super amazing, The Compound Effect, right? Yeah, so I don't know if you guys have read that, but I think that was another kind of life-changing book that I read. I started a 100-day journey, a fitness journey, kind of like 75 Hard. But that was the first book I read on my journey. And it just, oh my goodness, just shifted my mindset and had me looking at my entire life differently. I reorganized my whole life, reorganized my business, and I was able to accomplish some things very quickly after reading that book. So those are probably 2 books I say that I read this year that were huge.
That's awesome. How about you, JD? What are your go-to books?
My fitness goals. I feel like I went on 75 soft. It's golly. My favorite book, I reread it this year. This wasn't the first time I read it, but I like to read it every other year or something like that. It's called Love Your Customer. It's like this captivating story about a small family-run suit business in the Northeast. It's unremarkable exterior. It's a small building, small town, not a huge population. It's a real story. And this family is just very diligent about loving their customers, welcome them into the store, measuring them for suits, but also having just an ongoing relationship with them. And nobody knew, kind of during like a decade of their operation, that they were doing something like $50 to $100 million annually in suit sales.
Wow.
This tiny little company.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it's obviously they made a big enough impact to write a book about them. But the kind of the background of the story was you can be a gigantic company and have flashy signs and advertising, but totally lose the relationship with your customer. And when the customer walks in the door, if they don't feel like they're the only person that you're talking to or the only person that you're looking at, it just is not going to work. And at least on the mortgage side, and Geoffrey, I know it's the same, and Till for you guys on the real estate side, you guys do a really good job of, in support of your family and making money, balancing a lot of different clients at once. But you put a lot of effort into making sure they feel like they're the only one at that specific time that matters to you. And that goes a seriously long way when you're trying to build something that's repeatable, durable, through many market cycles. And that's a really good book. I can drop the link. Honestly, I'm happy to send it to anybody that wants to read it. It's not like, it's not like a business mastermind book or anything like that. It's pretty, easy to read, but it's really interesting. It's really cool.
Those are the best type of books. Just like the non business.
Yep.
You learn like the best lessons.
There's no bullet points. There's no, there's no podcast that's associated with it. Like it's very old school, but it's really neat because one of the other outtakes or, parts of the story that they talk about is there used to be a rumor that if you went to Nordstrom and you asked them to change your oil back in like the 90s, that they would, because they were trying to show their customers that they would do anything. And that reputation sort of bled into the 2005 to 2010, and customers were taking back returns and they were getting really well treated. And that goes such a long way. And when the market crashed, Nordstrom was, they were struggling, but their customers just loved their product and loved how they were being treated. And so they talk about that in the book too. And it's really interesting.
Love that.
That's awesome.
What about you, G?
For me, it would have to be Behind the Golden Arches, which is the McDonald's story.
Cool.
You wouldn't think that would be like a good book, but really good business book. And then the other one, for me, would probably have to be like The Banker's Code, to be honest with you. It just, outlines how like banks work and stuff like that, like real like high level stuff. But those are probably the two more impactful books for me personally. So, absolutely.
I haven't read either of those. I'm gonna read those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your book as well, JD. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, you're gonna have to send me that one.
Yeah, please.
It's a good read. Yeah, I'll send it to you. It's a good read for sure.
That's awesome. Well,
Till, what's the most exciting thing? Sorry, last thing. What's something that a listener could do to support the charities that you're interested in?
That's a good one.
That is a really good one. I'm actually on Tuesday, day after New Year's, I'm going to make a post about my mission trip to Liberia. I'm also going to link donations to be able to donate to that. So that is one way they could support. And then for the Puso Foundation, we have a Instagram page. It's at the Puso Foundation, and it's linked to all of the great things we do around the world. And it's also links to be able to support us and donate or buy merch or anything like that. So those are probably two ways, and I'll connect with you guys and kind of
we're gonna drop them in. Drop them in.
Awesome.
In the show.
I just followed it.
Make sure everybody supports.
Yes, sir.
But Till, I appreciate you coming on the show. We're gonna have to do another episode where we just dive into all the different, businesses that he owns and really do a deep dive. Just wanted to get this episode off because, we do have people that need to goal plan and business plan. So I thought that was major, but I appreciate you coming through.
Thank you guys for having me,
I know your time is very valuable. So
you guys, thank you, JD.
I appreciate you guys, man.
Appreciate your time too.
Yeah, love you guys, man.
And and everything like that. So I appreciate you.
Thanks,
this is Geoffrey Whiteside and JD. Relationships are the most important currency. This is us signing out.